boat, and a large portion of the reason for that is because you've got a rising cap, right? There isn't. We've seen in the last, really in the last number of years when we've operated really in a flat or a marginal increase cap, where people run into issues, right? And so now they've got to make decisions and move somebody out. There certainly wasn't that. There wasn't a lot of that going on in the league. Therefore, there's players that, less players hit in the market, less players available, and more people retaining their own players. So, and the other piece with it is just identify what we're looking. I think I mentioned it the other day. It's just not as simple as saying, okay, Mitch has moved on. We go replace Mitch. To me, it's you kind of got to do that in the aggregate, right? The opportunity allows you is more cap space, and can you try to get more depth? Can you try to spread it around? Can you, over the course of maybe a couple of moves, replace the offense that's required or that you're trying to replace, and spread that out throughout the lineup? So as far as timing, it's a good question. You'd like to do it yesterday, you'd like to do it today, you'd like to do it tomorrow. I don't know. I mean, we don't play here till October. And the question people always ask, you finished? I don't think you're ever finished, right? You're always looking to try to improve your team. You don't know when those opportunities are going to surface. If somebody gets into a jam, if somebody's, whatever the opportunity is, but you have a pretty good handle on what people are trying to do, what players may become available, and you just take that information and, you try to get out and, whether it be through free agency or through trade, try to, upgrade yourself and find players that could fit and provide what you're looking for.
You're listening to Brad Treliving, General Manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Brad, just to put a bow or conclusion on the Mitch Marner story here, if you look back at your year and a half or 2 years, whenever you showed up here, and looking back in hindsight right now, is there anything you would have done differently, acted differently, pushed harder for maybe a list once you started realizing that he may not be coming back? Is there anything that you've learned throughout the process that could help you moving forward?
Well, I think it's always great in hindsight to look back and say what you would change. At the end of the day, I don't think anything was going to change, right? And again, I'm not going to get into the weeds on a blow-by-blow of the Mitch situation. I think Mitch is a tremendous player. I said it the day I got here. He's a top player. He's an unbelievable talent. Just look at his statistical, production since he's entered the league, his time at the Leafs. He was a great Leaf. We approached Mitch's camp. Really, even from the time that I got here, about what his plans were. Those were always to be a Leaf. At the appropriate time, excuse me, when we could, we approached them about engaging in a contract discussion. They made it clear that they wanted to wait. As you go through that process, you get if you've been in the business long enough, you have gut feels of how things are going to go. And by no means do I criticize the player. That's the player's right. And then you look at other options. And Mitch negotiated a no-move clause, which is fully in his rights. So, when we look at opportunities to move on, or opportunities at potential transactions, at the end of the day, Mitch held the cards with those. And again, I'm not going to get into into the weeds here of those discussions, because I think those are between myself, his representative, and the player, which I always think are, I ask for honest conversation with my players and representatives, and those are held in confidence. But at the end of the day, there wasn't a path to a different outcome, despite looking at different opportunities or potential different scenarios. And so we are where we are. So you always retrospectively look back in anything you do and how do you do it better. I don't know at the end of the day if there was an option or an opportunity that was going to work, that was going to provide a different outcome.
And I imagine just those basic principles that you just said with the no move apply to Morgan Riley and whoever has them in your lineup moving forward.
Yeah, any conversations I have will remain confidential. So I appreciate the interest, but I've got nothing to add there.
I gotta try, Brad.
Yeah. Well, you are looking at a situation where power play one was Mitch was running the point. Now, do you expect to see Morgan back running that unit?
Well, we're July 2nd, so we haven't.
Who's running the power play, Brad?
on the wall yet. But listen, those are conversations we have every day, right? Chief's in here, we talk. We're side by each here right now as we look at different options, and every scenario that you look at, you've got it on the wall with, what job opportunity are you looking to replace, or what holes do you have, and who's going to do the different jobs. I mean, again, I come back to it is when with Mitch going away, you're not just taking a player and saying, okay, he's going to do Mitch's job. Mm-hmm. And so now you have to look at different opportunities. You got to look at different opportunities for different players. A year ago, we didn't know necessarily if Matthew Nyes was going to be a fit with Austin, and you don't know where there's going to be chemistry. So at the end of the day, what we look at now is how do we use the space that we have, and certainly, offense is an area that's, we've got a guy who's got 100 points that's left our team. We think we've replaced a little bit of ability here with Michelli, but we've got to do more. And all the different things that Mitch did, whether it be on the power play, whether it be 5-on-5 and the penalty killing, those are just areas we need to replace. So whether that's certain players in our team taking on more, taking on some different roles, and certainly looking to add to our roster to help fill that in. So probably a long way of answering. I don't know exactly yet what our power play, how that's going to break down. We have certainly some ideas and some options and lots of discussion on it, and we'll see how the days unfold here moving forward as we get closer to camp.
So with Mitch Marner gone, where are you on your DNA? You still looking for a few more molecules?
Yeah, it's surprising how a guy makes a comment. It's still